Welcome back to Making a Murder My Journal, and today we have a special new filing from Kathleen that went to the Wisconsin Court of Appeals February 13th, 2019. Let's go ahead and dig in. Dear Justices, I will not apologize for being forced to send a second letter to supplement Mr. Avery's pending motion because, as the attached transcript and CD illustrate, the state is trying to deceive undersigned counsel and this court about the status of the pelvic bone property tag 8675, which was recovered in 2005 from the Manitowoc gravel pit. The state has continuously represented to undersigned counsel since 2016 that the state was in possession of the pelvic bone 8675. Undersigned counsel received a packet of never before disclosed ledger sheets on Friday, February 8, 2019. Undersigned counsel noted that the new ledger showed that the pelvic bone was listed as item number 9 and as being only human. Attached and incorporated herein as Group Exhibit 1 are new CCSD ledgers 87 through 90. The ledgers disclosed to prior counsel, State 1, 6869 through 70, do not have the September 11, 2011 entry. The September 20th, 2011 police report has been previously provided to this court as Exhibit A to the January 24th, 2019 motion to stay the appeal and remand the cause for proceedings on claims for relief in connection with the state's violation of Wisconsin Statute 968.205 and Youngblood v. Arizona. The report indicates that the human bones from 8675 were separated from the non-human bones, and all the bones were transferred to the Whiting Funeral Home for return to the Halbach family. In light of this new information that the pelvic bone 8675 was categorized as human and therefore would have been returned to the Halbach family, undersigned counsel made two urgent email requests today of Assistant Attorney General Thomas Fallon. Attached and incorporated herein as Group Exhibit 2 are the two emails requests to Mr. Fallon to call undersigned counsel immediately on her cell phone to confirm whether or not the state was in possession of the human pelvic bone 8675. Mr. Fallon has consistently represented undersigned counsel for the last 3 years that the state was in possession of the pelvic bone. Attached and incorporated herein as Group Exhibit 3 are the documents reflecting undersigned counsel request for 8675 to be produced for testing. Mr. Fallon never returned Ms. Zellner's telephone call and was instructed not to by his co-counsel, Attorney Mark Williams. Mr. Williams inadvertently called Ms. Zellner's cell phone at 9:13 a.m. today and left a message for Mr. Fallon which stated, "Hi Tom, this is Mark Williams. I'll send you an email later today, but I don't think we should do anything or respond to her at all until tomorrow when we look into the bag and see exactly the pelvic bones are in there or not. So I would not respond until we look into the bag tomorrow morning, and we can talk about it before we send a response. Thank you a lot. Bye." Attached and incorporated herein as Group Exhibit 4 is a CD of the telephone call and transcript of that call. Clearly, for the past 3 years, Mr. Fallon has misrepresented that the state was in possession of the human pelvic bone 8675. On September 18, 2017, Mr. Fallon again misrepresented that the state was in possession of the pelvic bone 8675 when he agreed with the undersigned counsel to allow microscopic examination of the pelvic bone to determine whether it's human. Specifically, undersigned counsel and Mr. Fallon agreed to have the state's expert, Dr. Leslie Eisenberg, and undersigned counsel's expert, Dr. Stephen Symes, perform a microscopic examination of 8675. Because of the new information produced in the previously undisclosed ledger sheets, that 8675 was determined to be human, undersigned counsel does not know if prior undisclosed testing has occurred prior to the bones being returned to the Halbach family. See Group Exhibit 1, CCSD Ledger, page 90. Undersigned counsel respectfully requests that this court consider this letter and the attached exhibits in its ruling on Mr. Avery's pending motion, particularly his claim that the state has acted in bad faith in violation of Youngblood v. Arizona, and his request for an evidentiary hearing on this matter. Signed, Kathleen T. Zellner, Stephen G. Richards. Certificate of Service. I certify that on February 13th, 2019, a true and correct copy of Defendant Appellate's letter to the court providing 4 additional group exhibits to Mr. Avery's motion to stay appeal and remand the cause for proceedings on claims for relief in connection with the state's violation of Wisconsin Statute 968.205 and Youngblood v. Arizona was furnished via electronic mail and by first-class U.S. mail, postage paid to Manitowoc County District Attorney's Office, Attorney General's Office, Lynn Zeigma, Kathleen T. Zellner. All right, you guys, so there you have it. We have a butt dial to Miss Zellner. Okay, so wow, I can't even make this up. They're going to go look in the bag of bones to see if the pelvic bone's in there. We know it's not. It's been given to the Halbachs, and biological evidence has been destroyed. So we're either looking at a retrial or exoneration, something that will be coming along quite shortly here. The problem with the situation, you guys, is very simple. And there's not a lot that is simple in this case, so I want to address this. It goes through my mind daily. If this was not a premeditated case, okay, we would not have targeted suspect in the beginning of the investigation. Somehow they knew when they were investigating that they had the Denny law in their hand. They had the ace in the hole, because otherwise, without interviewing the suspects and doing this properly, without the Denny law, the defense would have just paraded suspect after suspect through that trial, and it would have created reasonable doubt within the jury. But instead, we have undermined the verdict of the jury by the prosecution because of the fact that they absolutely knew that the bones in the quarry were Miss Halbach's, and that's proven in the fact that they're returned to the family as their daughter. Now, if Miss Halbach was in that quarry, that means that the tunnel vision of the Denny law dissolves, and it opens up the suspect list to anybody that had access down in that quarry. That's a big deal. The state would only allow the jury to hear about the one person that had access to her because it was on his personal property. She was on his property, and therefore they locked in that Denny law. But they wouldn't have been able to do that had we known that the bones were actually found down in the quarry. So that's a lot to really take in, and as we go forward, this case is going to blow wide open, I have a feeling. I just got done with doing the video on the tweets yesterday from Ms. Zellner, and it was quite interesting that people have done the research, including my team as well. The RD researchers were finding that there were bones down at the deer camp. Now, we also know that there was a suspected burial site there, shallow grave, right by Cuss Road, and now we have pelvic bones down in the quarry. I think we're getting the real picture, and the truth, time will tell on you, because the truth will be revealed. When you peel off all the lies of the onion here and you get down to the heart of it, it makes a lot more sense that it's very, very concentrated that we have the dogs, which do not lie. The scent and cadaver dogs do not lie. And they were circling that area and did alert on that area of those places that we're speaking of. And so how did the bones go from the deer camp all the way up to Mr. Avery's? Now, guilters might say, well, he went and put them down there. Well, really? Because if he killed her there and he left bones in his own pit and then he spread them out all over the place, just one bone would have found him guilty at his own house. So that's not how to cut it. That's not it. And Mrs. Zellner has proof that she was not, the victim was not burned in Steve Avery's pit. Her original burn site is down somewhere else. So where is that? So the other question in the tweet was if the the bones were buried, are we going to be able to get them back? And this is something we have to wait and see what the state says. If unfortunately the bones were further cremated and spread out to sea in Florida, we have a huge, huge dilemma in the court system because we can no longer proceed. So it'll be very interesting to see how this turns out. Okay, guys, enough of my rambling. It was a short video, so I wanted to get some of my own opinions and own thoughts in there, and that's all it is. So, all right, you guys, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and if you would like to subscribe, do so. That'll let you know when I have a new video out. And if you want to know immediately when I do release a video, hit that little bell. I just want to say thank you guys so much for subscribing, for liking, for all the kind comments and support, and for sharing this, because public awareness is where we gotta really put our efforts. It was the media that was twisted and used against Avery the first time, and I think it's ironic that it's going to be what's used to free him as well. So with that, you guys, happy Valentine's Day, and thank you, Ms. Zellner, for all the care you take in keeping us in the loop and the question and answers that you do for us. We greatly appreciate that. We have much respect. Hats off to you, from one armchair sleuth to a serious lawyer that knows what she's doing. What a graceful, beautiful lady. All right, you guys, if you didn't do the crime, then you should not do the time. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great night.